Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Unofficial Broadcast Show. We made a sequel to maybe the best unofficial broadcast show, covering all of the major and maybe minor regions occasionally, but I mean, started with the minor regions, we'll elevate ourselves up to the major regions. We've got one of our representatives actually here, and funnily, he's always the man in the middle for me.
True
Sam,
enough.
initialize Hapgood, sir. Hello, how are you, mate?
I'm doing really well. It's been a really fun week. It's the middle of
Hmm.
EU Masters right now, so kind of doing that as well. And obviously, World's coming up as
Typical for you
well.
to
So
be an
it's been.
EU
I
representative
know
for this
it's been
episode.
there's a lot of EU stuff going on. So I'm wearing a few different shirts tonight as LJL and EU and
Of course.
prepping for EU Masters and all the rest of it. So it's been a really exciting week. But I'm very much looking forward to Monday when I can sleep. So until then, we're on the grind. It's midnight and
No
I'm good to
sleep for the
go.
wicked, mate. You've still got another big day ahead of you. I'm looking forward to those finals. Obviously, everybody, you need to make sure you check that out. Follow at Initialize on Twitter as well for that. Though, we've got another man in the middle. It's crazy what I seem to do here. Pyrotechnics, you're here to represent the PCS, and you've got Beyond Gaming, and you've also already got a crazy team name already in the main event.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to be seeing not just Beyond Gaming back at Worlds and seeing how they're going to do differently this time around, hopefully, but also to have a different representative, CFO Flying Oyster. I'm so happy that casters have to say that name now because I've been doing it for months, and they're also a really exciting team. So it's going to be a good time, and I'm looking forward to Worlds. It can't start soon enough.
A little bit more patience. I believe it's like 4, 5, 6 days. We got less than a week. I'm sure of that. I'm sure I saw a
I'm
tweet
in
somewhere.
quarantine, man. I need something to look forward to.
Well then I salute you, sir. I
Uh,
also hope you're feling better. Ladies and gentlemen out there,
Thank
he's
you.
also piling through this after basically sending a message going, I'm not feeling great, but I'll see my best. NyQuil and everything else is doing its damnedest, and also the power of pyrotechnics. So, sir, I salute you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the final, but last, but certainly not least, that's for sure, we have Kitty from the LCO. Hello, how are you? And how are Chiefs Gaming doing? Chief
Well,
Esports.
surprisingly, I'm not upside down, so I thought my camera would be upside down because I'm from the
Ah.
land of the upside down, if you know what I'm saying. But the Chiefs, well, I do know they had a flight at 6 a.m., so they're probably very tired. So everyone's just very tired at the moment, including me.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing this. We are well and truly Mr. Worldwide, Mrs. Worldwide here with this one because we've got multiple time zone, NA, EU, Australia, and Spoods, our lovely producer out there. I hope you're going out
Shout
to the
out.
stream. Where are you, sir? Where are you at the moment? Singapore as well. We are literally covering almost every single time zone here.
That's pretty nuts,
Ladies
actually.
and gentlemen, welcome to the Unofficial Broadcast. This is a show where we like to spotlight and actually give some coverage over to major and minor regions and kind of compare and actually have a realistic conversation about the expectations from experts of those regions. And that's why we have this beautiful cast. I'm here just to host and also be unbiasedly apologetic towards Detonation FocusMe, but Sam's here to rein me in about that. But
I'm
ladies
not sure I'm
and
the guy to do
gentlemen,
that.
well, you can try, sir. But before we get into it, let's actually get to know a little bit more about our experts that we've got here because we don't always know so much, and we're going to go in reverse order from the initial introductions. Kitty, I want you to talk to me just a little bit about the Chiefs, kind of their journey, and just kind of also introduce yourself and who are you? Why have we brought you on here as well?
Well, brought me on because you guys are lovely people and lovely people bring on lovely people.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
shout
Yeah,
out
great.
to the VCS English Unofficial Broadcast. But
Hell
hello,
yeah.
everyone. My name is Kitty. I am the LCO analyst and interviewer for the OCE region. And we have the Chiefs representing us at Worlds Group A this year. And you guys, they only lost one game through our regular split plus playoffs through split 2. So we are sending probably our best shot we've got in like a couple of years, like maybe 5. Who knows?
Well, I
That
mean,
is
Corporal
that is
went
massive. Only
international
I know.
recently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I interviewed him.
Don't.
So, I mean, oh man, might have a few words for you, but I mean, I still love it though. High expectations for the Chiefs because I mean, this is a return to form maybe for the region, and it's one of those weird things. A lot of things happened recently with the LCO. I mean, a full rebranding, really. But the teams still keep coming out fighting, and I mean, hey, they've been even winning recently. Pentanet, I remember, did some blows.
They did, and I'm sure everyone remembers Pentanet from the 2021 MSI run with Pablo and his lime green hair. But bringing it back to the Chiefs, I think we genuinely are sending our best roster that we've had in a couple of years because we do have three veteran players being Tally, Tapoon, and Raze. They've been to Worlds 3 times already, and I believe it was a couple of times with Legacy, and this is the first time Chiefs has gotten a title actually in 5 years. So
Wow.
it's really nice seeing them, and Aladori being the support. It is his second year in a row. Peace was the winners for last year, so he is coming back as a return for that World's appearance. But we do have Arthur. I'm not sure if you guys know of Arthur. He played for the LCK, and his previous name was actually Miru, and he played
Ah,
alongside LCK Chovy. So that's actually
hmm.
the most exciting thing that he's going to be seeing his old teammate. Hopefully, we make it out of, groups and he gets that
To
rematch
face
up
down
against his old.
Genji.
Yes,
Oh
to face
gosh.
Genji,
Oh boy.
Copium. But
We
yeah,
might have to go on a
so
bit of a journey to get there, but I'll be in for the journey. I mean, minor regions always support one another regardless of the journey because we all just want to see those wins and to topple major regions. But I mean, one of our representatives here might disagree with that, but let's move on over to Pyrotechnics. Sir, why have we brought you on here? You've been on a few regions as an expert, I could comfortably say, but now you're on the PCS. And tell me a little bit about Beyond Gaming, please, sir.
Yeah, I've definitely been a journeyman over my caster career for sure. I think if I really want to nail it, what is the important storylines for a team like Mega Man Beyond Gaming? Obviously, they're the number 2 seed into World, since we kind of are a weird in between major minor region. I'm not really sure what to refer to the PCS as, but Beyond Gaming are coming in as a very different squad than last time around, where they had this rookie sensation Doggo, and of course had a, I would argue, spectacular collapse in the play-in stage. This time
One
around,
way
it's
to
a
put
very
it.
different style of roster. Yeah, they still have the core of their a very aggressive jungler Husha, their support Kino, also somebody who gets really involved in the action early on when he's allowed to roam. I'll get into that a little bit later. But what's changed about this team now is they have a complete reworking of a lot of their other powerful roles. They obviously lost Doggo to the LPL, so they picked up Wako, a very late game centric, like traditional hyper carry that plays it pretty safe in lane. So they kind of have a lot more of a hands off approach early on outside of the jungle role. And they've been using LEC, who they picked up at the start of 2022, a lot more frequently than their old top laner Liang. And LEC is much more of like split pushing type of player. He really likes the Fiora, he really likes the Camille, the Aatrox, and yeah, of course you can see on the graphic that he's played a lot of Gnar. It kind of just slots in when he's needed. And for their mid laner Minji, he's very much an assassin player, and he was on the Berjaya Dragons last split, like kind of a much more like kind of middle of the road team. He's really started to branch out a little bit. We've seen him play things like Talia, like Lissandra. He's gotten decent at roaming champions, and that is the hope. Because otherwise, he was kind of a bit of a one-trick pony for a while, really just sticking to more assassin-style champions. When they fell out of favor, he struggled a lot. And I think this team has a lot more versatility as of playoffs.
So I mean, this is a team that I feel like will be scary if they're not a first seed team. If they get to if they have to play a best of 5, they could actually be a best of 5 dominator team. Am I correct in understanding that?
So it's interesting. It's kind of a yes and no, right? Because they honestly they surprised us in playoffs. Like I'll just straight up say I did not expect this team to be our number 2 seed coming into the playoffs. They were kind of a best of 1 powerhouse where they would randomly pick up wins over opponents that look stronger than them. But during the regular split, they kind of did that in reverse too. They started losing random best of 1s to teams that I would have thought would be much stronger, like teams that ended up placing 7th, 8th, even 9th place in the split. So it was really hard to figure out where this team actually was. And then in playoffs, they just absolutely upended the apple cart. They surprised J Team, completely shutting them
Mm.
out of the upper bracket. They did the same thing with a 3-0 sweep against Deep Cross Gaming, who I had clocked as a much stronger team. And then they beat PSG Talon in a best of 5 nail biter for this shot at Worlds. This was actually the game that got them into a guaranteed Worlds contention. Yeah, they were shut out by CFO, but I think that's just a disparity in raw power. This team is the ultimate comeback squad. They almost never win early game, but they always find their way back into the game late. And the fact that they beat PSG Talon in 5 games, I think it says it all.
Well, high expectations are being placed upon Beyond, and I'm honestly looking forward to seeing how they perform. There's a lot to talk about these teams and initialize.
Hello.
Sir, you've got the difficult task
I
here
have.
of doing double duty for
I have.
LEC, sir. Talk to us about Fnatic and Mad Lions, and I don't know how you're going to do this, but good luck, sir.
Yeah, so let's start with Fnatic, because obviously it's
Mm.
been a bit of a weird season for them, because this was, on paper, a super team. You have got Wonder, arguably the greatest European top laner of the last few years. Remember, he was on that incredible G2 squad 2019. Hell, this is an MSI champion. You've got Humanoid, the best performing mid laner in some ways for a lot of couple years. You've got Upset and Hylissang, all-star bot laner. Razork, this up-and-coming rookie jungler who would smash the LVP in the ARLs, came up and had a pretty strong first season. And honestly, it was a somewhat underwhelming look for this team. They didn't do very well in spring, particularly, where they kind of didn't quite make it work, didn't get the championship they were looking for. And then in summer, they were one series away about from not making it to Worlds. And then they have this really impressive run through playoffs where Razork turns it on. And he has this incredible run on, particularly as you can see it on the graphic here, that Trundle, where he was just making aggressive plays early on. Humanoid found his comfort on things like the Silas in particular to really make things happen. And the stability we had seen out of Upset was finally being backed up by some of the more volatile pieces around him, like Humanoid, Razork, and Hylissang, to really get things going. They fell apart a little bit against Rogue, who turned out to just really have it on at Malmö, where, you know, you heard from the interviews, they were kind of a bit shaky before they turned up, and then whatever happened, whatever was in the Swedish air, really brought that team to a kind of level we hadn't seen out of them outside of the regular season. And then Fnatic kind of like crumbled to that one. But aside from that, they were on a pretty good tear. The issue is they've been a touch volatile this season. And that makes me a little nervous potentially in playoffs. On paper, they should be going out of this group first seed. The raw talent here is undeniable, but some of that volatility that has hurt them, I think everyone remembers that flash Lulu W from Hylissang that looked a little bit suspect against Rogue. If that's what's happening, then maybe there's some more issues. But they come in, they play their game. Razork in particular is empowered with a strong jungle matchup. Things should be good for this squad. Moving on,
Sam,
perhaps. Yes.
before you go on to
Before I
the
do
Mad
that.
Lions here, I'd love to just ask this question. Is there anything we need to know about Fnatic as a team going into the playing stage at the moment? Is there any news? Because I know there's been a bit of things on social media
Yeah,
at
of
this
course.
moment in time.
Good call. Yes, there was an announcement earlier yesterday, I think. So this was all around the stuff around like, so Carlos, of course,
Very
leaving
recent.
G2, and somehow G2 pipped Fnatic to the post of drama as well as everything else recently. But unfortunately for Fnatic, they've had two of their players go down with COVID at the worst possible moment. Of course, there's still a little bit of time to recover, but even so, that's affecting things like scrims. They're obviously going to have jet lag. They've moved to another country. It's just really crappy timing. And of course, with how there was some pretty rough stuff for Fnatic at Worlds last year as well, I'm sure they're just kicking themselves. It seems to be happening to this team again. Wishing swift recoveries. Of course, it's some pretty important people. I believe Hylissang is one of the people who's fall down with it. Hopefully, it won't hit them particularly severely either, and it's all very, quickly recovered, and they come in at as close to full strength as they can. But yeah, it is worth keeping in mind that they have unfortunately been hit with the dreaded corona, and we'll be wishing the best for them. But that is a kind of an intangible that you won't see in the stats and everything else that is affecting the team right now. Good call on remembering that, actually.
It's what I do here, mate. I'm here to make you look good. With that same thing in mind, the Mad Lions, they're currently in full force coming in to the playing stage. Am I correct in believing that?
They are. And
Fantastic.
Mad Lions are an odd team because partway through summer, they look like by far the best team in the whole damn region. They were I think the way that Nightmare and Cadril were talking about it with me was basically they were the team that were just way ahead of the curve in terms of play style. They were playing that LPL style of facilitating your mid jungle to go into the enemy jungle, roam a hell of a lot, and take the enemy jungle out of the game while you just pull off dive after dive on things like the Tillier and the Poppy. And that Tillier, as you see in the sort of like graphic block there, the champion block there for Niski, was so dominant. And effectively, Niski was the MVP for a reason because he was just so damn good at getting out of lane, affecting other lanes, and basically saying, Elioya, mate, you don't have to do any ganking. It's okay. I'll do that for you. What you're going to do is steal all the enemy camps and make sure the other jungler is completely useless. And then on top that up with like Unforgiven being really a superstar in the bot lane. That Draven was nightmarish to deal with. Very, very strong player who could play quite lane dominant. It was all looking really good for Mad Lions. And then they hit playoffs, and they do not win a best of 5. They have got to Worlds without winning a single best of 5, which is kind of insane. The strengths of this team are very obvious in the fact that if they can get out to Rome and have Niski and Elioya backed up with Kaiser, they're very, very dangerous with that. But the moment you can hold Niski to account, the moment you can kind of potentially isolate Armor in a negative matchup, this team can collapse. And of course, one best of 5 or a couple best of 5s don't take away the entire strength of this team. If there was a team from Europe to fall out, and especially considering their group they're in versus Saigon Buffalo, DRX, and then of course RNG, the MSI champions, MAD Lions have got some stuff to prove because the highs they had, the halcyon days of the middle of summer, are kind of long past them now. They've got to really recover that shine, and I think a lot of other teams have caught up to the playstyle that really earned them advantages earlier on in the year.
I think what's interesting about that as well is the Mad Lions. They are almost that unknown factor because of how playoffs went for them. I'm almost a little bit scared if they get through that first best of 5, right? They'll be playing across the bracket as well, so they could come in and just like slam a team like DFM potentially with unknown
Please don't say
factor.
that.
Just I don't want it, mate. I am the apologetic fan, but I mean I can't. Got to be realistic. Mad Lions could just be that scary thing. And I mean, that twisted fate that you highlighted from Niski with his champion pool diversity and so much what he does and brought to the team with how much he roams. Funny, that twisted fate's pretty good at that. I'm terrified to potentially see what Mad Lions could come on full form. We haven't seen that. We'll have to see all that. Kitty, our other lovely analyst went in far more depth than I was initially expecting. So please, I'd love to just see if you've got any other last tidbit points that you'd like to tie in before we go over to a game show where you're going to need to know your knowledge on the teams and players.
Oh boy.
I don't know about my knowledge about the, a game show, but I do have some knowledge for our OCE team. So we're going to start off with Tapoon in the top lane. He, I believe, has the most solo kills we have ever seen in the LCO, being top 5 globally across the world. But let's talk about just the overall champion pool. So we have Tapoon as that bruiser player. He's always happy to blind pick that Gnar, and he always gets that solo. No matter how bad the matchup is, he just gets the work done. And if we look at Arthur, he has a very utility-based champion pool where he's happy to actually skip his camps and get his lanes ahead. And something very noticeable about his playstyle is that he would like to gank bot lane very early on to get Aldoric and Raze ahead, where it breaks the bot tier 1 tower, and then it makes Aldoric allow him to actually roam around the map as a duo with that mid jungle, as that support jungle. And then it actually helps out Tapoon a lot better because they want to go for rift fights then. And if we go to mid lane, Tally has always been that utility-based champion pool where he is glad to help out the team. Ari being his most played, 5 wins and 0 losses. Obviously, they've only dropped 1 game, so their statistics look amazing across the entire team, but he is that mage player where he is able to give a lot of resources to his other carries, which is usually Raze or Tapoon. And Raze, well, he is just that explosive ADC where he's always that stability of the team, and he's always able to carry no matter how bad the situation is. And in terms of fighting, he is just always in the perfect spot, and I don't actually think I've ever seen him misplay. But something to note of this entire team that I've picked up from watching them is that Raze and Aldoric, when they do get put in that 2v2 situation, there are some hiccups, and they do get a bit of a oopsie solo kill situation going on sometimes. But I think sending this team to Worlds will be fine.
The moment you started going on about a top laner that just first picks Gnar unapologetically, my heart just fluttered. I was like, this is music to my ears. I've got an Eddie 2.0 in some senses potentially, as he defined the LGL with that pick and brute forced a meta. But that's just what sometimes happens in minor regions. And that's what's interesting when minor regions get to join major regions and just see how regional metas clash and combine. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I would like more international tournaments, but we'll have to wait and see what the calendar is, and with the world hopefully opening back up to see if we can get more of that. But before we can get that, we've got a game show here for you. Oh, and how this one's going to work, it's going to work slightly different between last episode's one. So what we've done is our lovely two experts that we had on with us, Rebel Fox and a random minion caster, they gave us a few statements. I believe
nice.
also with Spoos, they've got a few prompts. Prompts.
I was
Apologies.
trying to work
for
out what that word was. This is
I
an
was,
unusual one.
I was a bit all over the place there.
Got
So
away
what
from you
will
there.
happen is the panel will be presented with a statement, and that info on that, whether it's a player, a team, a region, and the panel is going to have to work out through the prompts. Good luck. We've got about 8 to 10, I believe, and we're just going to kind of just go through these casually. There's no points, no prizes. It's just interesting to see if regional experts still can actually represent, or are our prompts potentially terrible? We'll get to find out. That'll be the interesting part. I can see you want to say something, Sam.
No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. How much of an expert do I count as? Let's find out.
We will. Smooth, if we could get prompt number 1 for us. All different nationalities. 1 BO5 impossible. Mid laner trade swap. Okay. All right, Sam, go for it. You put your head up first. You went for it.
I kind of just mentioned it. It's MAD Lions. They didn't win a best of 5. I don't think they won a best of 5 this year, in fact, which is quite sad.
Yeah, I think it has to be the Mad Lions, unless it's highlighting. Oh, yeah, it's just Mad Lions. Yeah.
Of course,
Spoons, is that
Niski
the
switched out
answer?
as well. Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else who fits that description, but yeah. Hey.
Thank you.
Well done, initialized. Well done with that
Phew.
one.
That would have, like,
Alright,
if you
let's
hadn't
get-
said that, that would have been like a really good like brain teaser too. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got it.
yeah, I would be like, how is that possible? That's
I'd
a
be like,
broken
Minor
listen-
region. They have to have won the best of 5 for finals, right?
Yeah, they're just like,
Yeah,
wait,
they
no,
said
it's LEC.
Oh, that's painful. Oh, with that one, prompt number
Throw
2
those knives.
over there. All right, let's see. LCO, LJL, where would it be? Largest experience difference at 15 in a row, but not team. Has old name was funny. Okay, so maybe a long-time player, and then played 3 roles competitively. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a few names jump to mind. What's our panel thinking? Pyro, I'm coming to you.
It's not anybody in my region. I
No?
know that.
Kitty?
No, it's not.
I do know that Tally played. Okay, his previous name was Tally Whacker, like he whacks people. So that's kind
That's a
of funky,
great
you know?
name.
It is a
But
pretty good
he
one.
did play 2 roles, two being mid and top. So I'm not sure
Yes.
about the 3rd role, but the
The
larger
Tally
XP
Gangplank.
difference
Oh,
would make sense. So
And
I'm
the
not sure,
XP
but
diff
I'm
thing
probably...
could track.
That's not a bad idea. I'm trying to think what else it could be. I know. I promise I would have said Udapon, but Udapon's played 4 roles competitively, so I don't think
Yeah.
that counts.
Everything but
so
mid.
he's played everything but mid, which is kind of nuts.
Jack of all
I mean,
trades.
supports his least played role, so I guess
oh,
technically
man.
that might... no, it can't be, because I don't know what his other name was, if he had one.
So
Or
it's
was
not
it that
really
funny?
Oh gosh.
I mean, they're dominated. Whoever it is dominating
done
in their
very
role,
well.
remember. Because they are large experience difference, or they're never roaming, potentially.
Well, and if it comes down to it too, that's not always the biggest surprise in a minor region, right? Where you have very top heavy wins. So that part I like is not tripping me up. It's the old name was funny part that I'm like, I'm trying to think of anyone besides Tally who it could be.
Now, these prompts might not be perfect, remember. I would give them weight, but not too much weight. That
Humor
you'll
is
define everything.
subjective.
Yes.
I'm potentially putting a pass in on this one because I am not sure.
All right.
If it's Udapon, I'm gonna be very upset.
Okay, so we'll have a passive Udapon for initialize here. Kitty, do you want to go with the Tally as your soft
Tally
guess?
Whacker.
Okay.
All right, I love it. Pyra, you got.
I mean, I remember when I was told the name of where the story comes from, so I'm gonna agree with Kitty on this.
All right, Spoons, what is the answer?
Yeah.
Tally!
Oh, we got it!
Thank you, Kitty. You saved us.
I believe, okay, from the top of my head, I believe he played jungle at one point, but it was like the early days.
Wow. Okay.
But that's probably
He's been
where the
around for a
3rd role
long
came from.
time.
Yes, he's played competitive
Yeah.
for way too long. I think he
Okay,
actually
wow.
started when he left high school, and I had an interview with him, and he said that he joined at the start of the OPL, And yeah, that's where he is
It's like
now. He's going
2015?
to Worlds again.
That's
Yeah.
incredible,
A
really.
veteran.
Very big
Ah.
veteran.
Oh, be lovely to see him. Hopefully one day lift a big trophy, but might be tough. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Let's get number 3 up, Spoods, for our lovely panel here. Highest first blood percentage in a region for 48.6%. That is
Hot damn.
huge. Playoffs glow up as well, apparently. So they're getting all the first bloods, but then they had a playoffs glow up and has nice hair. TBH, is this just not Prince? No,
He's
minor.
not. He's not. He's
I
not
know.
here. Really, I wish he was here. Sad times.
So it could be Husha.
Has
I
Husha
can't
got good
remember last
hair?
time I looked at Husha. That's the thing is like I actually can't remember like how he does his hair because there's actually a number of players in the PCS that like do really like nice like brushed up hair and everything, but like
Mm.
I don't remember if his hair was like stand up. But the playoffs glove, well, maybe not specifically for Husha. That was more just the whole team. So I'm gonna
Would he be
retract
someone who
it.
gets? Would he be someone who gets a lot of first bloods?
He's okay, so he's like the most active player on the team, which plays a little bit more for like late game, like comebacks. They find a lot of skirmishes. He's the one that carries the early game, and he's always hunting for a first blood. So if it was
Right.
going to be anybody on Beyond, it's him, but I don't know if it's going to be. And I don't know enough about some of the other minor region teams to say for sure. So
Okay.
I think it's
Oh,
probably not, but yeah.
okay. You know what? Considering we've had one for each of our analysts so far, I think it might be a pirate angle. So I might actually join him on the Husha one there. What are you thinking, Kitty?
I'm gonna be honest. Nice hair. I have very high standards for nice
Oh,
hair. So
right.
that one's
Oh,
like tipping me
Kitty.
off. But playoffs glove, maybe it is going to be Pirates region because highest first blood in region, that percentage is ridiculously high. And I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
know anyone with such a high percentage.
Ebby?
No, I think it
I
probably
have the
is.
numb's not
Ebby's
of
not
me.
that
I
high
don't
as
know
well.
the numbers, but
Ebby's pretty high, relatively speaking, but again, DFM
he's
play
not
through
even that
whatever
high.
lane they feel like on the day, so it's not really always true. And there's so many solo kills, it really screws things over.
If a certain team comes up from the CBLOL region, we might.
we're
Oh,
getting we got
that
a correction
does
team.
change
Oh.
things
But
a
okay.
little bit.
Oh,
So
that
we've
does
been told by
change.
Spoods that the player in question gets
Oh, no.
48.6% of their team's first blood, not that he just has that or they
Okay.
have that across
Oh,
the
I'm
region.
less confident now that it's
I
Husha.
know. You know what?
It could be
At this point,
Lekai, but
you
nah.
All right,
reckon?
well,
But then
I'm gonna have to lock in
I
some
don't think it
final
is.
guesses here. So, Pyra, I
Let's go
feel
with
like the
Husha.
Oracle is all going for you. So, who are you going
Trusting
with,
you.
sir?
God, I'm probably gonna be wrong. If it's the team's first blood, I mean, I guess it's still Husha. I wouldn't say he specifically had a glow up in playoffs though, so I'm going to opt out.
Don't do this. I trusted you.
You did. I don't know if you should have.
All right. So, who are you going
Yeah.
for then? So, you're just going for opt out, or you're just
I'm
choosing
saying
not
I'm
to?
saying it. I'm saying it's definitely not anyone on Beyond now.
Okay. Okay. Initialize. Who are you gonna go for? Blind arrow. I feel.
I'm holding Husha. Let's do it.
Okay.
I will carry the faith that Pyra has left behind.
All right.
Kitty.
I'm just gonna say Evie because he has nice, cute, like blonde hair. So I
Fair.
respect
Okay,
that. You
that's
know,
fair.
it gives
It's
a lot
good
of,
hair.
I
It's
mean,
good hair.
I
That's
think we've
fair.
been underrating that aspect of these factoids.
That's true.
So,
I
yeah,
think if Kitty gets it now with the cute hair angle, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
be.
feel real good about that random one I said as well.
I needed to like
All right,
quickly
Spoods, give
scroll
us
through
the answer.
all the pictures.
Razork!
Razor. Oh, Razor.
Of course, his playoffs glow up was so real, and he has actually got fairly cool hair. Kitty, what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on Razork's hair?
That's a more important
pretty
thing.
nice. It's like very slicked, and I believe he dyed it. He bleached it. We respect
He
that.
did. Okay,
Alright.
I'm quite upset now. Okay.
See, if you said
Mutual
good
understanding.
jawline, then I would have been like,
Well,
That's what
I
I
mean,
pay
I'm glad
attention
that we at least now all came to a resounding yes. We all agreed once we saw it, at least. So let's bring up number 4 for us, Spoos. How many more have we got of these? Okay, our producer ain't confident about a few more, so we've got one more after this one. Raise the poppy-ish. Okay.
Okay, puppy. Okay.
Tied
easy angle.
lowest summer placement of Worlds qualifiers. Okay, so
I
coming
need,
in
I need a
pretty
clarification on that.
cold.
Does that mean like regular season placement was the lowest?
Okay.
Believing it's
Yes,
regular season on that.
yeah.
Um,
Always second in the league. All right, well, this is definitely Beyond Gaming then,
Yeah.
and they're
I
always
was
because
gonna
second in
say.
their
Wako
league.
Wako
So yeah.
is, Wako is kind of like the late game hyper carry that they need to feed.
Okay. That feels pretty good, especially because I
Yeah,
think that feels like a
they were
pretty
like
solid angle.
sixth
'Cause Beyond's
place.
always like
They were
that's
sixth
true.
place in the regular split. It's the worst they've ever done as an org, and yeah, they owe it like they're not always second place every single split,
Mm.
but they're second place when it counts, which is
Mm,
worlds.
that makes some sense. Kitty, you on board with this one? Because I feel like it's a pretty good angle. I
It
trusted
is a
Pyro on
good
the Lucian one though.
angle. The first player that came to mind was actually, I thought of Raze, because we had this
Oh,
ongoing like
true.
shade that some of the players threw because he would always choke during the finals and he would always end second in their league. So that was like very bad flashbacks. So
It's a player.
I,
Ooh.
I, I would have said that aside from the fact that Chiefs were definitely not tied
they were
lowest in the
definitely
placement because
not
it
tied.
was
Yep, for
so.
sure.
Yeah.
What
But
does
Chiefs have
Raze
gotten
have?
second a lot in the last couple of years, like
Yeah.
until they got the win.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
True
let's go.
though.
Let's go with Wacko then. I think Wacko's a pretty good angle then, considering
Yeah.
Chiefs were definitely better than second, better than like sixth or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think it's Wacko and Beyond Gaming. Yeah.
All right, cool. Locking it in. Give us the results, Boots. It's Beyond
Yeah,
Gaming as
it's a team.
expected.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 out of 4 is not bad so
I
far.
mean, like,
Pretty
so
good,
like it
guys.
doesn't have to be like the player specifically because like Wacko does do like 36% of the team's damage.
Oh,
So like just the fact that they are,
damn,
yeah, that's
okay.
because they are a. It's because of the way that they play the game. It's all for like late game when AD carries just do so much more damage.
Fair.
Amazing. Right. Well, let's get our fifth and final one here. Let's see if we can go 4 for 5. 4 for 5 would be pretty good, right? I feel like we'd be pretty happy with that. Highest average kills / game in summer is 19 kills. Oh, I feel like I already have an idea of who this might be.
Maybe.
Best game record among all qualifiers, 27-1, and Massive Fish, Small Pond.
Guys, I don't want to
Is-
say it, but I think the team starts with C.
Oh, wrong way. There we go. I'm looking the wrong way. I was like, I trying to look.
I think the team starts with C, guys. I don't know
Oh,
if
it's
you're
the Flying
gonna
Waters. It's CTB
agree
Flying
with
Waters.
me.
There we go. I see it
yes, I
now.
This
think I'm
gotten
right.
easier as time's gone on. It feels like
Yeah,
it was
I know,
really hard in
feels
the
like
beginning.
it. Chiefs for sure. Surely, I think
Chiefs for
Kitty might
sure.
have the angle.
It's definitely Chiefs. I mean, like
Well, I
the
think
fact
that
that they only dropped one game, that was in the finals, right?
Yeah,
From
so
what I heard.
when they dropped that one game at the finals, I believe it was actually a Gigastomp from Pentanet.gg. But, you know, to be fair, the draft was just not it from Chiefs. I believe they got heavily outdrafted in that third game. So it went to a 4-game series. And they unfortunately, well, maybe it's a good thing that you don't have the stress of getting a perfect split anymore. Who knows? It could go both ways.
I appreciate the
Well,
code.
literally one game off and BM'd the draft, Kitty.
You'll have to talk to a bit about that
All
one.
right,
because,
I will gladly
yeah.
do
Look,
that.
look. Sometimes you just throw a draft. I have seen it happen so many times, and then if you recover after that, it's fine. It doesn't matter as long as you won.
Pyro, I
Yeah.
still get vivid flashbacks of V3 Sports at Worlds, and it's
Oh,
just
stop.
it's just hell. It's I
mm.
I know I very much know, sir. I don't think Chiefs or honestly any of the teams probably representing here on the panel today will probably do that, relatively speaking. So I
I'm
think we're
hoping
safe.
so.
Think we're fine. Is the result cheap? Yeah, there, of course it is. Of course it is. There
Yeah.
we go. Congratulations to our panel of experts there. I mean, outside of I'll be honest, I think the Razuk one, I blame the experts on that one. That was a bit of a bait and switch, I'll be honest with that one.
I mean, I
What
see
do you
the
think?
angle they're going for. I just
Mm.
got stuck not thinking about Razor. There we go.
I think
Hey.
all of the answers ended up being something that at least one of us had some special insight into, but I was thinking it would be any of the play-ins teams. I'm like, oh, I could be in trouble here.
That's why it was a
They were nice
community
to
one.
us.
Yeah. Well,
Worked out in the
we
end.
collaboration. We don't want to single out anybody and be like, yeah, now talk to us about random EG player, because we'll do
Yeah.
that next
I mean,
time.
I live in NA. If you want, I can talk about EG. I was covering them for LCS. Like,
You
Of
were,
course,
yes.
yeah.
I also did some academy. I can tell you about Kaori a little bit.
Hey. That's probably not a bad thing
Ooh.
to shout on because he's going to be their starting AD carry as well, so it'd be worth
He
chatting.
will be, yeah.
It will be. But before we get too deep into that and we start talking about the pros, the cons, the strengths, the weaknesses, and then a little bit later getting into predictions, let's just set the stage with a few of our other minor regions. I believe we've got some videos set up from our lovely producer Spoods. I believe we got one from RMC. Initialize, did you do one for OJL or?
I did not.
Did not. So we're just gonna probably have you do a 1 minute
I can do that.
hyper minute about that. But let's first go and see RMC about some CB LOL.
Welcome to Brazil, home to beautiful beaches, lush jungles, bustling cities, and some of the wildest League of Legends to ever grace the Rift. The world's 2022 CB LoL representative is Loud, who play a style that lives up to their name. Passivity is not in their blood. Right from the get-go, Loud load onto the Rift with a plan, often implemented by their jungler Croc, with a focus around the mid and bot sides of the map. If they get ahead, Brentzy and Seo start applying pressure and snowball quickly into teamfight machines. Should they fall behind, veterans Tinones and Robo are always there to apply side lane pressure or find picks to even things up, whether that be a quick kill or a Baron steal. With how the draw has panned out, 2022 is CB LoL's best shot to get out of play-ins, with a strong mid-jungle synergy for control and one of the region's biggest surprises with their rookie AD carry Brentzy. It won't be easy, but it's not just a dream anymore. Go Loud!
Oh, wasn't that beautiful? Oh, now we know more. I mean, me and Initialize already knew a lot of that already, but I mean, hey, that was episode 1 RMC. If you want to know more about the loud gaming from CB LoL, you can check out our previous episode of the Unofficial Broadcast, where we go in depth with that with RMC. Kitty, you also did us a quick video as well going into it, and why not just refresh our memories with your lovely words about Chiefs?
Hey everyone, Kitty here, LCO interviewer and analyst, and I'm proud to be presenting the Oceanic region with our super team lineup, consisting of 5 previous titles. The Chiefs will be reappearing on the World's International stage in Group A for 2022. If we talk a little bit about the team, they've always been labelled as the super team as we came into this year. Unfortunately, they fell short and lost up against Order during the Split 1 finals, and they weren't able to make that MSI appearance as they have wished for. Luckily for them, they had the drive and experience to bounce back with astonishing results, and they only dropped a single game throughout regular split and playoffs where they were this close to that undefeated title. If we talk a little bit about the players, we do have Raze, Tally and Tapoon as that classic trio coming back to make their reappearance at these international events. And with their experience and veterancy being their best characteristics, they are definitely players to look out for their natural talent. And then we do have Aldoric coming in for his 2nd year in a row competing at Worlds as that explosive support player. I'm sure you've all seen the TikTok clip of his Rakan, but he is someone to watch out for when you are watching these games. And we do have Arthur being the jungler, previously known as Miru, playing alongside the LCK superstar Chovy. He has always been destined for greatness, and it's great to see that he is proving himself at the World's International stage. Enough from me, guys. Let's be ready and raise our koalas because the Chiefs are about to unsilence OCE.
Oh, thank you for that, Kitty. It was wonderful to hear more about them. Oh,
What a quick
with
outfit
that,
change. That was
ladies-
impressive.
I did a quick outfit change, as you guys can tell. Did my hair differently as
superhero
well.
style. I didn't know you could do that.
We got the fast cut with the angles
that's
and
it.
everything too. That's really good.
Superfly cut. Talking about Superfly cuts, I mean, Initialize, I set you up. Can you do me a 1-minute summary of Detonation FocusMe for the LJL as you're here?
I can do exactly that. So it's a little bit of a rehash of last time, but DFM are now the most dominant regional team of all time, period. They have got their 14th title, which
Let's
is
go.
just nuts. They are also now 4 times in a row winning the LJL, which is pretty impressive. Of course, some pretty big shift up in the roster this year, bringing in Harp in place of longtime superstar Gang, who is considered arguably the best player in the region, alongside Arya, who of course left for KT rosters, and in their place they got Yarong and Harp, as I've mentioned. And this team has gone from strength to strength. They've really broadened how they can play the game through pretty much any lane they care to mention, and Steel and Harp in particular have become a really dynamic duo to make things happen, and Yaharong joins up with that as a player who now has the best laning stats and the best roaming stats of any mid laner in the LJL, which is just kind of nuts. And they play towards very powerful carries in both Ebby and Utapon, who've been playing for such a long time. They've got such flexible play styles that they can do whatever the hell they like. And they're going to try and bring this veteran and very dominating roster to Worlds to kind of pick up where they left off last year. And maybe, despite a slight stumble at MSI, they're going to be trying to prove that they are still a very dangerous team that can play through strong lanes early on and then convert with very powerful carries with a couple interesting picks coming out of people like Ebby's Urgot and the like. So do keep your eyes on this team. Do not sleep on them. Their versatility, their raw mechanics are nothing to sniff at, and they've only gotten better since spring.
Oh, beautifully done, sir. Well done. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, we've now had all of those recaps. However, our experts got to show their predictions, as did I, of course, prior to this recording and hearing about all these strengths. Maybe we change things. Let's find out and go over to Group A's predictions. If we can bring that up, Spoods, that'd be lovely. All right, let's see. So, I want to go over to Kitty. Obviously, you're going to have some preference towards the Chiefs, and you've done the sacrilege thing of not including Detonation FocusMe. You didn't get the script. I'm sorry we forgot to send you the DM ahead of time, but please explain yourself.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, before we actually went live, there have been some tweets on the Twitter sphere about the scrim results that they've been having for this World Prep. And let's just say, okay, I'm going to quote Fudge directly right now. So, Fudge said, OC has beaten NA in scrims so far, so maybe I should have stayed there. And that's exactly why I actually put them up to that 4th place, because I think genuinely they do have a sharp EG. I saw their performance for the split 1 and it looked really good. Danny was honestly a superstar of the region, and you know, watching that CB LOL video, I got reminded that Croc, the jungler of Loud, was actually the previous jungler for Chiefs in 2020. So he's going up against his old organization. And I'm excited to see that rematch because, you know, they do have some history together.
Does the Fnatic's recent stuff, hopefully, obviously, if they're coming in maybe with just not a lot of scrim time, do you think that's going to affect the standings, or should Fnatic just fly as you're expecting them to at the moment?
I wasn't aware that some of the players got COVID, but obviously it's going to affect their results. Hoping that it won't. But EG is sitting in 1st place because of their dominating performance, in my opinion. Fnatic, they've been very inconsistent from what I've been seeing. They're too inconsistent for me to put them in 1st. So I settled them in
Maybe we just
second.
put Chiefs 2nd then. Maybe that's what we do with the old swaps of
Chiefs 2nd. Who knows? Chiefs, you know, they're consistent at being good. I don't know about Fnatic's consistency, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire prediction, guys.
Okay, well, I'm still not going to forgive you fully for the DFM, but bygones can be bygones with that one. Pyro, so you've got the unique spot of everybody completely agrees that Beyond Gaming and actually thinks they're probably going to be 3rd or 4th. My apologies.
Yeah, I was about to say I think you might be underrating a little bit. Now I will say, so while I'm right there with Kitty on the EG number 1, I do think that this is a team that really, up until the final hurdle, looked like they were probably a shoo-in for 1st or 2nd place in the league. I think they're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone in the Group A. I also did these predictions before the Fnatic bot lane COVID news came out, and also before I'd seen that Upset had said the team hadn't been scrimming. So honestly, I kind of feel like Fnatic, this is like a little bit like the consistency issues are another thing too. There's so much concern there that I think there's a possibility Fnatic just falls out completely. That is a thing that could happen. I put them at number 2 initially. I think they could very well be a 3rd or 4th team based on the information that we're getting now. For Beyond Gaming, I'm a little conservative in where I'm going to place them right now because they did have that collapse last year. It is a very different team now, and they are, I would argue, in a way that they're weaker in terms of raw talent because it's so hard to compete with what Doggo is bringing to the table and even Maoan in the mid lane. But also, they're stronger in terms of their coordination. This is a team with a very clear identity that knows that they play a little bit slow, that knows they play for late game, that thrives in chaos and
Cool.
trying to find like river like skirmishes and picking up things like
Mm.
that. And I think that's something that can surprise most of the teams in this group. I think everybody but EG could potentially lose to Beyond Gaming. I'm not saying everyone will, but I think it could happen. I think the teams that are likely to be most of a toss up are Fnatic and DFM. I have no reason to believe that they will lose to Chiefs or to Loud. If they do,
Ooh.
ring the alarm bells.
All right, that's fighting
Wow.
words.
Yeah, no,
I will
I
say,
don't get me wrong. Respect for Chiefs. I think Beyond Gaming are
Well,
pound for
I
pound
mean,
better.
RMC did have to put Chiefs Chiefs all the way at 6th, just so he could put Loud 4th because he needs the copium somewhere. So DFM also was a sacrifice as well to that. So I mean, it honestly, with a group like Group A, it honestly, it does feel like everyone goes, I think it could go like this, and this is the standard one. I don't think anyone would be surprised if Loud are randomly in there and another team isn't at this point.
there's a
Such
few.
a hard group to call.
Well, we've got evil geniuses who've got their superstar AD carry being replaced as a substitute coming into Worlds. They like Cowrie is great, but that is a very rough time to suddenly start playing at this level against Upset, Utapon, Rays. You know, like that. Like even Loud's AD carry is a superstar rookie, right? That
I
we
mean,
were just hearing about
if
that from
Upset's starting,
RMC.
that's the thing. Like he
Well,
may not
right,
be able
Wasn't
exactly.
Rays
And
playing against Curry last year to a point and like
Yeah.
stomping him
It
as
was,
well?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it's not as much of a concern as like the Fnatic stuff, but I do agree that there
Sure.
is definitely like how is it going to look?
Yeah.
Limited amounts that we saw from Cowrie. I don't think he was bad by any means, and there's a lot of other
Yeah.
strengths on the EG side. Like I think
Yes.
Jojafin is incredible. I also think he will like I hate to say it, I love Minji, but he's gonna get hard clapped by Jojo.
Yeah. And I like
Ooh,
that's
I
what
can't
makes
wait
this
to
group
see that.
so hard to deal with is you're trying to work out, okay, well, Fnatic have now got illnesses, Evil Genius has got a substitute, you've got a lot of other teams who are genuinely very, very good. Again, like, don't forget this is a DFM roster that's probably better than they were last year, and they beat Cloud9 last year. Like, that was Perks and stuff in the mid lane.
And first seed.
And they beat Beyond,
Yeah.
exactly. They came out first year, and I think they're better than they were last year. Like, seriously better. They play significantly more coordinated. They're significantly better early on than they were last year. And, you know, champion pools are bigger than they were last year. Ebby's playing a lot more than like Set Nah, which was kind of his default for a long time.
Well, I mean,
That kind of
Steel
thing's
is
scary.
only
It's very
one tricking at the moment, but like
He's on the
he
Wukong.
just gets to do that at some points in the
But so
season
is
because
every
he just
jungler,
chooses.
bluntly, right now.
Honestly,
It's
yeah,
Wukong
yeah, and
Vi.
honestly, Sam, could you talk to us a little bit about your Fnatic prediction? Obviously, these are our predictions from last week, and I want to check in with you with your predictions as well because we're a week ahead
Yeah.
of both of these two when we requested for them.
Yeah, I basically took the bold call of putting Evil Geniuses 4th because I went, this is a very close group, and that was my bold call thing. I think DFM will be a little bit slept on, and that means that a team like Evil Geniuses that are a touch slower and bringing in a rookie AD carry against the level of bot lane power they've got here is really dangerous. And Impact is very, very good, and that can make things quite scary. But a lot of these other players, Wonder, Ebby, you mentioned Husha, like that is Tapoon. All of these guys are really, really good and potentially quite aggressive. And unless Inspired is really, really on it, you're in quite a difficult group to play the way you want to. Because I don't think JoJo gets. You don't get to like in NA. You saw things like Anivia getting drafted and not punished. That
sorry,
will
I
not
don't
work
think-
again.
I don't think Jojo Poon's ready for like Tally to just randomly pull out GP mid. Like if that was a random giga meta thing, like he's not going to be ready for someone to do that and be good at it, right? And I think like a lot of the other mid laners in this group have the exact same versatility. Well, I mean, if they don't Pyra, I think that's a bad thing for Beyond because I think a lot of the other teams
No.
do.
I think Minji is like very clearly the weak point on Beyond Gaming. Like he used to be very much like assassin or bust. He's like managed to bandage that a little bit with things like Talia. He has a decent Silas. He's played Lissandra, you know, like he can do some roaming sort of champions, but like he's gonna get pushed in against most everybody in this group. I think that's the issue. It's just a matter of that shouldn't necessarily be an issue for the entire team as long as they can at least stay safe or win out on side lanes. Like Lee Kai is really good at the 1v1, and I think if he gets allowed on certain champions like Fiora or Aatrox, like he could end up dominating and then just covering for it. Husha's really aggressive early on. He kind of patches a lot of holes. And Wako and Kino just ride out every early game. So that's the thing. It's a
Alright.
matter of like how hard can you stomp a mid lane to like try and win lane, win game. Beyond Gaming are really good at coming back from that because it happens to them so often.
That's an interesting resilience to
yeah.
built in. Tenacity, I believe, is the
That's
term.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Uh,
playing around your weaknesses is just as important as playing to your strengths, I think.
Oh, completely agree. And I think the other, like, again, what makes this group quite hard to call is a lot of these teams are either a little bit weak, and as I said, Fnatic, that prediction may well now fall quite a long way down with some of those illnesses coming in. But like a lot of these teams, like DFM, didn't really show weaknesses. Like they were just really good. There's very little to criticize regionally for this team. And that can mean that when you come into, like, same for Chiefs, right? Like they went, what was it? 27 and 1? Like that's
27
nuts.
and 1. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm also worried about. Yeah.
Like if you
It's
if
so
you come in
hard
like
to improve if you're dominating your region, right?
well, exactly. I mean, like DFM cheat because they get to scrim VCS, which is why VCS teams were suddenly playing Urgot and had to come up with Urgot.
Oh, and
characters. They
LCK
get to
challenges. We know
Yeah,
that.
Oh,
as
it
well.
was
like,
you. It was LJL's fault. Okay.
Yeah, so they know they scrim PCS. We know they get some scrims with LPL and LCK. You know, like so they get to at least practice with other big fish in other ponds. So that helps. But even so,
PCS plays against LPL sometimes too.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's-
So you still
course.
don't know if you're doing so damn well in your region. It can be quite hard to work out where your flaws are, and you can turn up to a group like this where it's very close and best of ones, and just everything can go in the air. And this group in particular, with a lot of very strong teams who've done very well in their regions, hard to call out.
It absolutely is. I think the amount of conversation we've had on just this one group alone should be that. We could probably do a whole 45-minute podcast if we wanted to, but we're not here to do that, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to go whip over to Group B and our predictions, and I'm expecting to see a lot of things. I'm seeing this for the first time. Wow, that is basically identical. We're just switching places, everybody. I mean, is anybody honestly surprised? Feel free, anybody here to jump in.
So
Yeah,
we'll put this one out right now. Saigon
ahead.
Buffalo have got their members because last week, we weren't sure whether we were going to have their
Thank
members.
you.
I'm
Okay.
pretty sure they've been confirmed to have their members. I'll double check that now, but
Our
I
Oracle
think they have got
Spoods
their
might be
own.
there to also do that for us.
So which is
Confirmed.
fantastic news. So I feel much better about my third place prediction.
There you go.
I mean, Kitty, I want to come over to you and just you've done the standard ranking. I feel like most international representatives are going to have, and when they know absolutely nothing about playing teams, and it still looks the safest way half the time, right?
Does look the safest way. I think LPL has been looking very, very dominating in their previous games, and RNG is not an exception for that. And DRX, I'm not quite sure if they can take on RNG just quite yet, so I did put them in second. And MAD Lions, they are the lower seed for Oh, sorry, not lower seed, but they are competing up against the two world winning regions, which is LPL and LCK. So I don't know if I'm coping, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be third because EU has never won a Worlds and they're up against LPL and LCK. But Saigon Buffalo is obviously.
What about
just-
season 1, Kitty?
Season 1 doesn't matter. That doesn't exist. It was season one.
I'm not allowed to
sorry,
count
I had to be
TPA.
pedantic. No,
yeah,
hold on. You're
Saigon Buffalo-
totally allowed to count TPA. Come on now. That's season 2.
No.
Moscow
Oh, my
5.
goodness.
Right? Why? If only there was.
Also,
there was a losers
fun
bracket.
fact: Beyond Gaming was founded by Dinter.
Seriously,
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah,
That is
they bought
a
AHQ
weird.
spot when the PCS was founded. Yeah.
Huh. That's a weird way. I mean, Kitty, I'd love to just have you
Sorry,
end
totally
us out
sidetracked.
with your thoughts. With obviously Istanbul Wildcats and Idris, almost unanimously, everybody has the 5th and 6th order. I mean, how did you end up there? Why is Holy Phoenix 5th place in your eyes?
I'm gonna be honest, Holy Phoenix is probably the team I know the least about, so that's why I placed them in 6th. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm a sheep, who knows?
Understandable.
But Saigon Buffalo, I put them in 4th because that's before they confirmed that their whole roster was going to be at Worlds. So
Okay.
that's why, maybe they can take on Mad Lions. We don't know just quite yet. I am a big fan of VCS. I think they're the strongest minor region that we've seen so far at international events. Always been that Gigabyte Marine fan ever since that funnel nocturne strat has ever been a thing. So big fan of VCS. But yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised if Saigon Buffalo can take on the 3rd place as well.
Okay. Pyra, I mean,
Reasonable.
you've got an interesting prediction there. You've put the MAD Lions
Yeah, that's what
second,
I
and
saw
Kitty
as
was
well.
kind of going, maybe I don't know about the MAD Lions. I mean, you've got the Hopium Copium going, so sir, sell me.
Yeah, I do.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Sell
So
me.
here's the
What's
thing.
going
Like
on?
you can you can you can take me out of EU, but you can't take the EU out of me, I guess. I'll admit that like when it comes to like a lot of the other teams, it's kind of the same thing. I'm looking at like what's happened in recent years. I didn't know
Mm,
Saigon Buffalo was going to be having all of their roster, so I wasn't sure where to rank them. But I looked at like what's what teams are being sent here out of these big regions, and I'm trying in the top three to not look at like, okay, well, this is a team from the LPL and this is a team from the LCK, and they're going to therefore crush everybody else. I'm trying to go a little deeper. I do think RNG, definitely looking like the strongest team here. That's no doubt. We all agree on that one. For
mhm.
DRX, I just I just haven't been quite as impressed in the few games that I've managed to catch from them. And for Mad Lions, I just am a little bit more familiar with the players. So like it could be a little bit of like a last year bias, where I'm looking at players like Arma and Niski and Elyoya and being like, well, I've seen what these guys can do. I'm very familiar with them, and I do think that they, as you guys pointed out earlier, they've been a little more consistent, and I think they have the edge because of that. It doesn't mean to say, like, I'm supremely confident they will absolutely be, like, that number 2 seed no matter what, but I do think pound for pound, they've given me a fair bit of confidence over the years in the players that I'm more
So,
familiar with.
so
Bottom lane, less
Pyra, am I right
so.
in
Yeah.
hearing that you believe we're going to be seeing 2021 Mad Lions, not 2020 Mad Lions?
Exactly. I'm more confident that we'll see last year and not 2 years ago. That is how time passes, I guess. But
Right?
yeah, like any given year,
Improve with
things can
time.
happen. Yeah, like I mean, I was talking about how Beyond. I'm hoping they're not going to look the same as they did last year as well. But like, I just think that Mad Lions look pretty good, and I don't want to underrate them just because they're from a region that's won less worlds titles, right? Like there are a lot of seeds that the LPL and the LCK get, and yeah, I guess you could argue the same thing's true for EU, but I'm more hyped on Mad Lions than I'm on Fnatic right now.
Okay, fantastic. So, that does put Mad Lions in an interesting spot then, because if you believe they're going to be second, they're going to be playing the winner of third and fourth over from the other side of A bracket, which is the
Hmm.
crazy bracket that none of us can really come to a consensus now with, especially with the Fnatic news. It's like, who knows? EGE, maybe DFM, maybe Chief, maybe
It's gonna be Chiefs
Loud.
and DFM coming out. I'm telling you now. So
What if they
it's just
face
I mean,
Fnatic? That would be hilarious.
honestly, the
man.
best timeline is all the minor regions make it through in a weird sense of
Yes.
fate and
Oh,
justice,
knock them all
right?
out. Be wonderful.
We just want like the LPL and the LCK to just take each other out. Yeah, that'd be great.
What
Yeah.
would honestly NA and EU fans do if minor regions got out over them?
I think it depends which minor
Uh,
regions, right?
they'd be on Reddit all day and make lots and lots of complaints and
Uh,
copium.
like
For
I think
EG.
yeah, I think it depends a little bit as well in what fashion, because I think you
Mm,
look at Saigon Buffaloes in particular are a lot more dangerous than they were in spring again. Actually, I think they've
mm.
improved. Like
Yeah.
particularly the meta has been really good for Shogun. And Taki is just a beast. Like he is carrier light in so many ways. The guy
E-
plays Camille support and is undefeated on it. Like it's nuts.
yeah, but
I
I
love
mean,
that, by the way. That
we
is
have
that is
got a few other
hilarious. What a
players at Worlds
Yeah,
comp.
who have got
it's
some exciting support picks. I
yeah,
mean, that Singed support. I'm looking forward to
Hey,
seeing it on the world
yeah.
stage.
hey,
But
if Kino brings back set support, I will scream out loud.
He's
oh,
straight
I
oh,
up there.
cannot wait. Like he pioneered that in the league, and we just haven't seen it for a whole split.
But
we'll
yes,
we'll have to look forward
we'll
to it.
see.
But Sam, I want to come over to you. Talk
Hmm.
to me a little bit about your predictions and talk to me about where you think Group B is going to be going for you.
So
Because I mean, we talked a little bit in depth yesterday, last week.
yeah. So I'll keep it relative. I think the top two pretty much guaranteed to be RNG and DRX, at least on form, because I think a lot of what made MAD strong won't
Mm.
work against DRX and MAD because they do it better than they do. Bluntly. Like the RNG are very good at playing out of mid jungle, and while I have my issues with Wei, the guy's incredibly clutch. But some of his consistency issues have been a bit problematic, and RNG was struggling in playoffs a little bit. But I still think pound for pound, they are just a very, very scary team. They are the MSI champions, and people like Armut in lane against Breathe sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, unfortunately, in my mind. I think Armut we'll see how he does in terms of champion picks, but I have those issues there. And then DRX, Zika's really stepped up. They had a really big glow up through playoffs. We know Deft is a very, very veteran, very strong player. We know the top side of the map is very, very good in general. So I have faith for them coming second. Unless Saigon Buffalo start pulling some heads off, because there's a real world for me where Saigon Buffalo actually end up second and DRX end up third, actually. I'm not convinced with MAD as yet. I think a lot of the strengths they have are like things like Unforgiven's really, really good. He's very, very strong. Their mid jungle is very dominating as a pair where Niski gets the ganks off LEO, takes the other enemy jungler out. I don't think that will be as easy to do here against these teams, particularly the teams they have been drafted into. RNG, DRX, and Saigon Buffalo are horrible teams to try and do that against. And they might be able to pull it off. Prove me wrong. And I really hope they do. But I think in a lot of ways, stylistically, I think they are going up against teams who play against that style all the time and pull it apart. And then they're trying to play through lanes, and I don't think there's a real guarantee of winning straight up lanes against the caliber of players they're against.
No. Even if you lose, even if you somehow beat Saigon Buffaloes, they will find a way back in. They will not let you go. They will go screaming and crying. It will be fantastic. I'm honestly excited. But thank you for that initialize. I need to keep us rolling on, and I want to come actually straight back over to you, sir, to help me close out our last main part. Sir, you know what I'm coming to you, sir. Can you hero build me a player? Can you tell me who I should be following, why I should be following them, why I should be excited to just seeing them on the world stage again?
So last week I talked about Udapon and how incredible he is as a player and how long-standing he's been, but I felt it was probably appropriate to talk about the other side of the map, and namely Ebby, this guy in the top lane who is just unreal. I think we've got a graphic for him somewhere. Look at this guy. This guy had got 16 solo kills in the LJL, which is pretty nuts because he's the number one solo killer in the whole damn league. I'm just going to remind myself a little bit here as well, because there's something to be said from the fact that the second person in the league was on like 6 or something stupid like that.
Yes.
And it was every one of these stats, he is way ahead of nearly everybody else. The only one he's a bit more normal on is this 8.1 CS a minute, which is not particularly impressive. But what you've got to understand is that despite a relatively CS per minute score, he is always way ahead in CSD, in XP, in gold difference, because he will just refuse to give his opponent any resources at all. And he does that in isolated matchups incredibly well. And he's also someone you can play towards in terms of just putting a lot of resources from, in terms of attention from Steel and Harp and Yaharong, who do like to combine to roam to side lanes. And if you want to play that style, you can as well. But often, the problem was in the LGL for every other damn team there is, if you left Ebby alone in a 1v1, he would just demolish it. And he would do it on everything from Tryndamere to Gwen to Urgot to Fiora to Darius. You could put him on Ornn. And like that incredible versatility in terms of champions, as well as in terms of just pure domineering lane pressure and split push ability, makes him so very, very dangerous. And the fact that he's been able to do that at an international level now consistently over the last 3 years or so, 2 years or so, is pretty nuts, because this is the guy who was like he got 5 solo kills on Khan back when it was it down 1 he was on at that point, was looking incredibly unbeatable, and he was just solo killing them, which was kind of nuts. And then like he's been able to do that year on year and improve on that very impressively as well. And now with a team that can rely on other lanes to carry almost as hard as he does, harder than he does if they need to, and that kind of very dominating play style, in the sense of they're really able to just pick a lane and take it out of the game effectively, makes this player a man to keep an eye on. He's still got the thumbs up. He's got the hands to back it up. He is a world-class top laner. I don't care what region you put him in. He would be very good.
And if set is meta because of the new skin line, obviously, in time for Worlds, I mean, there is no player who might be more prepared for it. We all saw what he did to Fudge. He would gladly start redoing that again, even if it didn't quite work out in that C9 game that first time around. Oh, God, Ebby, a man after my heart. He has been an MVP player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him back on the world stage. But Pyrotechnics, I want to come over to you, sir. can you build me a player? Who should I be watching? Who should I be cheering for and rooting for? And when everything looks dark for Beyond, who might be that ray of hope?
Ooh, okay. So you've made an interesting point there because if you want to talk about like late on in the game, it does change a little bit. But what's really
Oh,
important for
okay.
Beyond is that they survive in situations that honestly so many teams would just fall apart. And this is not a team that gets rolled over. And a big part of why is Husha, their jungler. He is by far their most aggressive player. He is incredibly active at ganking. I think we've talked about a number of those players that will just kind of like roam and really just sacrifice a lot of their own gold and even
Mm.
XP to be able to help out the team. And one of the reasons Hush is so good at doing exactly that is because he's often been forced into the role because his lanes on older versions of Beyond and even this iteration aren't always winning. This is a team that is so familiar with playing at a deficit, and a large part of it is because he helps patch a lot of the team's holes. Like early game, he always helps get dives going on in the top side. He is able to help Minji when he's getting pushed in. He's an incredibly good roaming player, and we've seen him kind of function as a primary engage throughout the course of the split. He's favored champions like Wukong. He picked up Vi towards the back half. He just really likes a lot of these champions that can get a big CC chain on and allow the team to find these skirmishes. And because he's that primary engage player, much more consistently than even like a support like Kino, who loves like the very aggressive like Leonas and Nautilus. He's able to set up so many of these fights just out of the blue. It almost feels like he's faster than like other junglers, and he doesn't even necessarily buy roaming boots. If the meta
Mm.
allows it, he'll go back onto something like a Rek'Sai, where he's able to just get across the map like lightning quick. And he is kind of the hero that Beyond need, even if he's not the one that they deserve in the early game. So that's kind of the reason that I really want to highlight him in terms of numbers. Like he somehow still manages to have a positive goal differential against most teams. CFO aside, they're kind of in a different league at the moment. But Husha is the player that really gets the team 70-80% of the way, and then everyone else takes over to finish the job at like the 30 to 35 minute mark. So he's kind of the workhorse, and I want to build him up as almost an unsung hero because of that.
I mean, we saw him last Worlds, and he was also one of those Ray of Lights last Worlds as well
Hmm.
for this team of Beyond Gaming. So, I mean, I love that you highlighted Husha. They're a name when I saw the list, I was like, I recognize them, but I didn't know if I should believe in them or not. And now I feel like I've got some reservement, and I'm excited to see them once again. Spoots, back to me, back to us. Come on. Hey, there we go.
We love
Ah,
back.
we're back. We're back.
Yeah.
Finally.
One thing I
So,
forgot to mention, by the way, about
oh,
Husha
please, yeah.
just last second. He has a pretty beastly Viego, and if they get Reset
Really?
City,
There
then
you
that's
go.
a whole nother story. So there's always a little bit of pop-up potential from him in particular. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Could be a late game carry. All right. Gonna be their early game. 80%. Might just do the 100% if the VA goes there. I love it. Kitty. The Chiefs have been maybe the most dominant version of an LCO team ever. So, who's that player who is going to be the one when Titans are against them? They will stand there like a rock and actually push back and show the Chiefs full strength. Tell me a player.
Okay, so if we bring it back to the start of the year, Chiefs didn't make
Okay.
it to MSI because they lost against Order during Split 1. And then they did a bit of alteration to their roster where they actually swapped out the support for Aladoric. And in particular, I want to highlight that Aladoric is probably the biggest reason that they owe their success to for having such a successful split, because he was intended to join for a while, but he wasn't able to due to some issues. And then I believe he only came in second half of the year, but it was a really good addition to the team because we did have Arthur. He played in LCK. He's a very aggressive jungler by nature, but he didn't have that person that really pushed him to his potential. When Alderic came along, he became that player that became that duo buddy, and then he was able to actually control the entire map. And with Aladoric playing all his melee supports, he is really good with his engages and honestly controlling the entire map tempo, where every objective is set up correctly and then every team fight is played out correctly, that he is genuinely the best support we've produced in a very long time. And I did want to mention that OCE, we are really lacking in the support talent pool, in my opinion. We did have Ayla and Isles leave the region to NA. I believe it's LCS and Academy, and they've been doing very well over there. But I think the next generation is probably Aladoric, and he is the only support left that is still to the standards of the old generation. And if we talk about his champion pool in particular, he is absolutely insane on that Rakan. I did mention that he did get to go to Worlds during 2021 with his team Peace, and there was this very particular TikTok, I believe. It's on Chinese TikTok though, so I don't know if you guys can find it. But it had like 600k likes on a Rakan play that he made on C9 Sven, and he absolutely giga shit stomped him. So, you know, his Rakan is probably the best I've seen out of any Rakan, maybe LCK level, honestly. But he does specialize in the Nautilus and Leona. However, Leona is currently out of meta, so I'm not sure if we will see that from him. But he is just so good at finding those angles. And Chiefs, being rarely disadvantaged in their games, when they are at that disadvantage, Aladoric is quite often the one that brings them back by making that pick in mid lane or making that pick around the Baron pit, you know. But I do have someone else as a second runner-up to mention. I do believe we have
Please.
a graphic mentioned made previously. It is Tapoon, the top laner. So he is the solo kill monster of OCE. You mentioned that LJL had 16 solo kills, but this man is top 5 worldwide for his solo kills, and he is an absolute beast in terms of mechanics. I think he is the best mechanical player that we've had in top lane for a very long time, and that brings it back to the point where top lane in OC is a very weak role in terms of its talent pool. So with Tapoon coming in and just with his dropping his 20 bomb on everyone, it's absolutely insane. And we do have the 604 DPS per minute first in role. That's how aggressive he plays in lane. And you know, we do have a very wide pool for groups, but I think Tapoon is up to that standard and he is able to pull up a challenge because he also did play a significant amount of time in the LCS. I believe it was Immortals for 2021. So he does have that experience along with Raze. So that's definitely not going to be an issue, but we do have him playing Gnar most of the time as a blind, as comfort, as engaged, just as anything. But he does prefer playing the carries as well because he is just that naturally gifted. So eyes out for Tapoon and Aladoric.
Ooh,
There's
I
just
like
so
that you
much to
gave
take
two of
away
them.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember
No,
correctly,
seriously.
Tapoon has been really good for a long time. I think I
Yes.
remember back in I think it was Mammoth days when I was casting OPL.
Yes, Tapoon has been
Yeah.
probably the best crop that we've produced in LCO. We just need someone to recognize his talent, guys. Come
I
on.
mean, I mean, like seriously, that the top lane pool for, especially considering the meta coming in as well, with like the Aatrox in particular looking pretty good. You look at the top laners in that group for Group A: Impact,
Good name.
Ebby, Tapoon, Wonder. Like, how is it? Husha as well. Like, Likai, sorry, who's just the bloody jungler? There you go. Sorry, wrong way around. I need that. I did that. Look, I've even got the graphic.
Yeah, but
on
they're
the
all
side.
super
I feel
aggro top lanes. I feel like we're
Exactly.
gonna have so many good like 1v1s.
Like, especially because I feel like the meta at the minute is often being like, either put a lot of attention top or leave it in a complete isolated 1v1 and let the top laners like brawl it out to one side being like insanely strong. It's kind of very
I
much
wouldn't do
either
that with
or.
all of these top laners.
Yeah, and I don't know who necessarily. I mean, like, you know, like,
Well, I mean, I
obviously
think
for
Kitty
obvious
made
reasons,
a
Impact on Wonder give themselves heads up for being very good for a very long time. But at the same time, I don't think any of those other top laners are out of that weight class, right? They can definitely throw punches with those guys, and that makes that really exciting in my mind.
But if they are fighting and we do leave them alone, Kitty brought up a fantastic point about Aladori, that normally that's the player who actually pulls Chief out when they do fall behind. So they've already got the safety net already in the back pocket. If they can just absolutely let Tapoon get those solo bloods, and if it doesn't work out, you got the safety net, right? It'll be fine. Am I right in understanding that's how it goes, Kitty?
Yeah, so the whole thing about Tapoon being able to just go up against the other opposing top lane and getting solo kills all across the game is just that teams in OC, they are forced to play 5v5 because you will never win the side against Tapoon. So maybe that will take into consideration for this groups where
Interesting.
they actually have to play differently because, like Sam mentioned, it is going to be a very tough fight for that top lane spot, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, guys.
Yeah, you can't guarantee a win from lane, which I think a lot of these top laners are quite used to. And I'm not it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because I think, you look at these guys and they go, yeah, I'm just used to being up 20 CS, 2 solo kills. For like these guys, you go, yeah, that's normal. Can't expect that on
I
the world stage, not against these guys.
No, I think the world stage might be a little bit more difficult, especially when you have got Breathe and Keegan, I believe, for RNG and
Kingham, yeah.
DRX. So, I mean, that's still going to be scary regardless of how it does go. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the show. And this is where we get to plug our lovely selves for our own content and what we do and where you can find us. Samuel. Sir, Initialize, would you mind beginning us out? Oh, this way. My apologies.
I absolutely, there you go, that's fine. I did exactly the same thing when I tried to stare at Kitty and just stared at you instead,
I mean,
It
it's
was a nice
okay,
moment
mate.
for us too. There you go. Yeah, hi, I'm Initialize. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The tag is Initialize, but with the L as a 1 because someone has taken the normal name and I'm very upset about it, but there you go. Do tune in to the European Masters stream tomorrow because I'll be casting it. It'll be very exciting. It's a very exciting matchup between Spain and France. We've got BDSA versus Heretics, so the new
On the
LEC
line.
teams as well. It looks really spicy. A lot of narratives. See, LFL been dominating the ERL scene for a very long time. LVP have been wanting to get back to fun for a very long time as well, so that's very, very exciting. So tune in before you get your eyes and teeth into play-ins, which is coming up very shortly as well. So, whet your appetite. Get hungry for League of Legends action by watching
There's a lot
some
of good
other
stuff
cool
coming.
leagues.
Oh, looking forward to it. Thank you, sir, for that one. Pyrotechnics, sir, where can people find you? What are you doing at the moment? Anything you'd like to plug for us?
Yeah. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I also am on Instagram. I'm not super I'm not super active on it, but they're both tagged at Pyrotechnics with the capital T if it matters. I don't think it does. And yeah, it's kind of an amalgamation of the word pirate and technics. So it's not actually explosions, but it does sound like it, which I think was cool back when I made the name in like 2012. Currently my esports season is done. So apart from watching Worlds and occasionally yelling about it, I am mostly spending my time making third-party content for Dungeons and Dragons, which you can find.
It's super cool.
I'll be tweeting about on Twitter, but I also have a Ko-fi, which is kofi.com/pyrotechnics, and yeah, that's pretty dope. It's like all like third-party stuff I put on DM's Guild, and yeah, if you search my real name, Devin Young, you can find some of the adventures and items and things I've whipped up there. But most
Awesome.
everything's available through the Ko-fi, and yeah, I like
It's
making
awesome.
fun game stuff when I'm not yelling about esports. So yeah,
The cryptid stuff
that's
in
me.
particular, I loved. It was super cool.
Oh yeah, I made a whole book of cryptid monsters
awesome.
that you can use in your campaign. Thank you for shouting that out. Yeah, that's me.
I definitely need to give this a check out. Oh, thank you so much. So lovely to have you on here for the first time, and a pleasure to meet you as well. It's the first time ever working with you. Kitty, also it's been a pleasure working with you as well. And where can we find you? What do you do? We know you're an analyst on LCO, but what else?
Well, thank you for having me on the Unofficial Podcast. So it was really nice actually being on here and being able to talk about my region. But you guys can find my socials at KIITTWY because Kitty is just taken by everyone. So it's
Yeah.
very hard to get the tag. But all my socials are that tag. And I do stream quite often. So please find me on twitch.tv/Kitui. I do stream some of my League of Legends solo queue. I am a challenger player. So if you are interested in some OC high elo gameplay, that will be there for you. But I will be doing some analyst work for an amateur tournament in Australia very, very soon. I believe it's the 27th. So please join my
soon.
Discord, which is also in the Twitch About Me section, and I will ping you guys about that very, very soon. Thank you for having me
Cool.
once again.
Awesome.
Oh, exciting news! Looking forward to finding out more about that tournament when it does happen as well. It's been a pleasure having all of you on. Thank you so very much. I'm Must1. I do host and casting. I like Magic the Gathering and League of Legends. That's what I do. And I run a YouTube channel. Not really. I do the LGL YouTube channel, and VODs are currently coming out. Apologies about that one. I have a YouTube channel. I yell. Still doing a thesis on Magic the Gathering. It might one day come out. Who knows? It's over 3 hours long if I was to talk about it now. So lots of passion there, ladies and gentlemen. But you can find me at Mars1 on most social media platforms. Yeah, I like to talk. With that said, though, thank you so much, everyone, for listening and or watching. another episode might be coming. We're currently, that one's being penciled in softly. We're trying to understand if we want to actually do a midway one throughout playoffs or if we're going to do a recap one at the end. By the way, people, let us know on Twitter. You can tweet at SpoodsLol to give your feedback regarding that, or any of us on Twitter. We'd love to just hear your thoughts about us. Engage with us, as we'll all be talking about Worlds and the play-in stage. But with that said, thank you so much for listening and or watching, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.